Over the last 20 years or so, I would say, the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft has become one of the most sought after prizes in the offseason. I mean, front offices and coaching staffs literally put out the worst possible team night in and night out, trying to get one of the worst records in the league. I mean, some teams even sit out their number 1 draft pick from the year prior, trying to suck as bad as possible. I mean, it's even gotten so bad that the league is trying to come up with rules and reforms to, punish teams that actually tank on purpose. But some teams have struck gold in this process, literally finding their franchise's next big star, and other teams, not so much. Some teams are even so bad consistently that they're on this list more than once. 5 out of these 10 picks are made by just 2 teams alone. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the league's last 10 number 1 overall picks, and we're going to see where they're at today in their careers. Now, I know some of the later picks are going to be a little less forward in their careers as others, but maybe we'll make a little bit of predictions. But let's get it.
What?
In 2008, the number 1 overall pick wasn't as clear-cut as it had been in recent years. For the Chicago Bulls, it was a toss-up between the hometown kid, Derrick Rose, arguably the most athletic player in the draft, or a walking double-double in Michael Beasley. But I think ultimately what set the two apart was Derrick Rose's play in the NCAA tournament, leading his 33-1 Memphis Tigers squad to a national championship appearance. With the first pick in the 2008 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls select
Derrick Rose from the University of Memphis.
Rose would immediately come in and set the league on fire with his quickness, athleticism, and crazy finishing around the basket. During his first 2 seasons in the league, Rose would go on and win Rookie of the Year, becoming only the 3rd Bull to win that award since Michael Jordan and Elton Brand. And then he would return in an even better form in his sophomore season, being selected to his first ever All-Star game. During year 3, Rose will already be a bona fide superstar, walking away with the league's MVP that year, leading the Chicago Bulls team to a number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. The Bulls will make a deep playoff run before losing in 5 games to the Big 3 in Miami of Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James. Before his 4th season, Rose would sign a 5-year contract extension worth $94.8 million. This contract would take up 30% of the Bulls' salary cap. This was the maximum allowed under a new contract rule dubbed the Derrick Rose rule. But unfortunately, this is the same year that Derrick Rose would later in the playoffs have his first major knee injury, tearing his ACL in the first round of Game 1 versus the Philadelphia 76ers. D. Rose will never quite be the same after this injury. Now he's just become more of a glorified role player, and he even had to take a hiatus while playing with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But when he came back with the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs last year, he showed that he could still be a valuable asset to a team, so hopefully he can keep this up and use this momentum to help prolong his career. Unlike the 2008 draft, 2009 was just a little bit more cut and dry. Blake Griffin was easily the top prospect in this year's draft class. Well, at the time at least. This draft class also included James Harden, Steph Curry, and DeMar DeRozan. But don't get it twisted, Blake Griffin wasn't a slouch by any means. In his 2nd season at Oklahoma, this man averaged 23 points, 14 boards while shooting 65% from the field. Yeah, his points were mostly dunks, but when you got a player that big and that athletic, you just don't pass up on him. Unfortunately, dunking the ball as hard as possible at all times will ultimately come back to haunt him, as he injured his knee in his final preseason game of his rookie year. But when Blake Griffin returned from that injury, he proved to everybody why he was the number 1 overall pick. He would start and play in all 82 games, average 22.5 points, shoot 50% from the field, also while grabbing 12 rebounds. He will also take home the 2010-2011 NBA Rookie of the Year. The fun wouldn't stop there. Along with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin would become one of the most exciting players to watch in the league, as those 3 were dubbed Lob City. So far during his 9-year career, Blake Griffin has been selected to 5 All-Star games, made All-NBA 2nd team 3 times, All-NBA 3rd team once. He has a Rookie of the Year, 1st team All-Rookie, and a Slam Dunk Championship. Now the 2010 draft, in my opinion, was yet another clear-cut decision. John Wall was also the best player in his draft class, and he played absolutely outstanding for Coach Cal at Kentucky. Now John Wall will come in his rookie year averaging 16.4 points a game, 8.3 assists, almost 2 steals, 5 boards, while shooting 40% from the field. When healthy, John Wall is easily the best player on the court for his team at all times. Before the start of this past season, John Wall signed a 4-year, $170 million contract extension. So without a shadow of a doubt, he is the guy for the Washington Wizards. During his career so far, John Wall is a 5-time All-Star. He's made the All-NBA third team once, as well as an All-Defensive second team. Now, the 2011 NBA draft seen a number 1 overall pick who played only 14 games while in college. Even with that little of a resume, the Cleveland Cavaliers still knew they wanted to take Kyrie Irving number 1 overall. And I think it's fair to say, they made the right decision. Even with the injury bug hitting Kyrie in the league, he's still arguably one of the best point guards in the league, and he arguably has the best handle in the league, bar none. Without Kyrie, Cleveland doesn't win that championship against the Warriors. His killer instinct and ability to finish at the rim by any means necessary is uncanny. His resume includes 2012 Rising Stars Challenge MVP, 2012 Rookie of the Year, 2012 All-Rookie First Team, 5-time All-Star, 2013 3-point shootout winner, 2014 All-Star Game MVP, 2015 All-NBA Third Team, and an Olympic gold medal. Now, 2012 is one of the weaker drafts in the last few years, but we still got one of the best players in the league right now who was taken number 1 overall, Anthony Davis. Even though some would say Anthony Davis still hasn't hit his prime, he's already one of the best big men in the league and arguably one of the best players in the league. And that proved true as he's in the discussion for MVP after this past season. Except for his rookie season, Anthony Davis has averaged at least 20 and 10 every year he's been in the league. He's a 4-time All-Star, 2-time starter, 3-time All-NBA selection, as well as a 3-time All-Defensive selection. Sky's the limit for AD, and he's been very, very fun to watch over these last 6 years. In his first 13 playoff games, he's averaging 31 points, 3 blocks, 2 steals, 2 assists, 13 boards, while shooting 52% from the field. Now, the 2013 draft still leaves many of us NBA fans puzzled. And I'm sure more importantly, Cleveland Cavalier fans are still wondering, what the were y'all thinking? With the first pick in the 2013 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett? We are not going to talk about this dude much at all. He is a grade A certified bust. His career averages in the league are 4.4 points, 0.2 blocks, 0.2 steals, 0.5 assists, 3.1 boards, 39% shooter from the field, and 26% shooter from the 3-point line. Last I heard, Anthony Bennett was somewhere stinking it up in the G League, so we're moving on. Now, in the 2014 draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers would get a smooth do-over, as I feel like the league felt sorry for them, so they got to make a number 1 overall pick again. But this time, I feel like they made the right decision. They picked up Andrew Wiggins. Many were speculating if he would stay in Cleveland or not. Eventually, Andrew Wiggins was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Love, along with Anthony Bennett's bum ass. Although Wiggins isn't anywhere near tapping into his true potential, he's still been a very solid NBA player over the past 4 seasons. He averaged 17 points his rookie year, winning Rookie of the Year, 20 his second year, a career high 24 his third year, and this past season 17.7. Although he did see his points dip between his third and fourth seasons, those points he sacrificed ultimately landed the Minnesota Timberwolves into the playoffs. And in his first 5 playoff games, Andrew Wiggins will go on to average 16 points, 2 assists, 5 boards, while shooting 44% from the field and 33% from 3. The Timberwolves have a nice young core over there in Minnesota, so I think the sky's the limit for Andrew Wiggins, and I think he could be a great player in this league for years to come. Now, in the 2015 draft, we see our 3rd Kentucky Wildcat and 4th player coached by John Calipari. The Minnesota Timberwolves struck gold again as they get yet another young star in KarlAnthony Towns to come and join forces with Andrew Wiggins down there in Minnesota. In Cat's first 3 seasons in the league, he's averaged a double-double for every single year. His career averages are 21.6, 11.7 boards, while shooting 54% from the field. His career high 25.1 was in his sophomore season. But much like Wiggins, his points dropped the following year, being that sacrifice once again turned into a playoff appearance. In Cat's first 5 playoff games, he's averaging 15 points, 2.2 assists, 1 block, 13 boards, and shooting 46% from the field. And once again, I would like to reiterate, if Minnesota can keep that core nucleus of young talent together, that team is going to be trouble. In the 2016 draft, we had yet again another clear-cut favorite for the number 1 overall pick in Ben Simmons. Ben would average 19 points, 12 boards, and 5 assists in college. Everybody was pretty much in awe seeing a 6'10 point guard run the show, pretty much dubbing him the next LeBron. Just like Blake Griffin, Ben Simmons too would get hurt in the offseason leading up to his rookie year, having to miss a whole entire season. But just like Blake Griffin, Ben Simmons will come back this season and have a phenomenal year. He averaged 16 points, 1 block, 2 steals, 8 boards, 8 rebounds while shooting 54% from the field in 81 games. The Sixers will also clinch a playoff berth, and in 10 playoff games, Ben Simmons will average 16 points, 1 block, 2 steals, 7 assists, 9 boards, but his field goal percentage would dip under 50% at 48. Although Ben Simmons will have a phenomenal regular season and is one of the finalists for the Rookie of the Year award, in the second round matchup against the Celtics, Ben Simmons' one-dimensional play proved to be, kind of a detriment to the team. And hopefully, this summer he works on his game and develops a little bit of a jump shot and comes back stronger for next season. But just like a lot of these other players, the sky's the limit. He's a very, very athletic player who gets to the rack and sets up his team, so he's always going to have a spot on the court. I definitely think he's going to be a superstar. And last but not least, we have the 2017 NBA Draft and a very controversial #1 overall pick in Markelle Fultz. Many people believe that Lonzo Ball was definitely, the better prospect, but I can understand the team not really wanting to draft him and dealing with his dad's loud mouth. But Markelle Fultz was no slouch. He averaged 23 points, 1 block, 1 steal, 6 assists, 6 boards, while shooting 47% from the field and 41% from 3 in college. But once again, the Philadelphia 76ers will be unlucky with their #1 overall pick when Markelle Fultz injured his shoulder and forced him to miss most of the season. In just 14 games played this past season, Markelle Fultz averaged 7 points, 1 steal, 4 assists, 3 boards, and shot only 40% from the field and 0% from 3, while only shooting 47% from the free throw line. Most of us know that Markelle Fultz somehow broke his jumper and lost his confidence along the way, and many people are calling out for this dude to be a bust, but I think it's way too early for that. We definitely have to see how he develops and what goes on from here. He only played 14 games and only played 3 games in the playoffs, averaging under 2 points a game. So, the Sixers have been telling us all along to trust the process, and the process has gotten them to the playoffs this final season. So we just got to wait and see. Now tonight, many other dreams will come true as players get selected into the NBA, but there will only be one #1 overall pick. The Phoenix Suns are on the clock. And with the first pick in the 2018 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns select